In this episode, a marriage proposal goes horribly wrong. Chris and Amber are taking a romantic walk in Yellowstone National Park. Just before Chris has time to get down on one knee and pop the question, a bison comes thundering towards them. It charges straight at the couple and drives its horns into Amber, sending her flying through the air. Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. American bison are an iconic species for North America, an animal that once roamed across the Great Plains in their millions, but have since been brought back from the brink of extinction. Before Europeans settled in North America, there were thought to be as many as 30 million bison grazing the open grasslands. There are now thought to be just over 30,000, following intensive and extensive conservation efforts, bringing their numbers back from as low as 1,000 in the 1800s. They are generally seen as gentle giants, often observed grazing the lush green pastures of America's national parks, or lying on the ground chewing the cud. Their huge bodies can reach 7 feet tall at the shoulder, and males can weigh up to 2,200 pounds, or 1,000 kilograms. In Yellowstone National Park, there are thought to be just under 6,000 bison. Visitors come from far and wide to see them in their natural habitat. In fact, the Yellowstone bison come from the original herds that covered North America 200 years ago. The ancestors of today's Yellowstone bison miraculously avoided the mass slaughter that almost brought the species to extinction. But these seemingly placid herbivores can deliver a powerful punch. Using their horns, they can gore any perceived threat, ramming into them at 35 miles per hour with 2,000 pounds behind them. When surrounded by wolves, herds of bison can form a circle with the calves in the middle. They lower their heads and their horns, pointing them outwards to protect the young. With over 4 million visitors to Yellowstone National Park each year, park rangers have been trying to warn people of the potential risks. Lulled into a false sense of security, some people are venturing too close to the bovines. The distance of at least 25 yards should be observed at all times when it comes to bison and other large animals, such as elk, bighorn sheep, deer, moose, and coyotes. When it comes to bear, however, keeping at least 100 yards away from them is recommended. But some people just aren't heeding the warnings. A 2018 study into bison attacks between 2000 and 2015 revealed that of the 25 incidents, people injured were actively walking toward the bison when it charged them, causing serious damage. On Monday, July 17, 2023, Chris Whitehill was on a romantic getaway with his girlfriend, 47-year-old Amber Harris. The two of them had been planning their trip to Wyoming for a long time, Chris even more so. He planned to propose to Amber within Yellowstone National Park. It would be a proposal to remember. A romantic walk in nature along Yellowstone Lake's north shore. Yellowstone Lake is the largest body of water in the national park. It has 110 miles of shoreline to explore and is situated in the southeast corner of the park. Unbeknownst to Amber, Chris was heading towards a natural wooden bridge further along the trail. There he would get down on one knee and ask Amber to be his wife. But it was not to be. Before they managed to get to the bridge, Chris's plans were thrown into disarray. After just one night in the park, the couple headed to a cafe near Lake Lodge Cabins beside Yellowstone Lake. There they enjoyed a cup of coffee before heading off on their walk, a walk that Chris had already planned in his head. They followed the trail away from the wooden cabins and towards the lake. Along the trail, they spotted about 20 elk on the grass. They paused and watched quietly as the herd moved on. Then they stepped to one side as a group of people passed them on the trail. It was a popular walk with visitors, a gentle walk with scenic views and plenty of wildlife to spot along the way. But halfway to the water's edge, in the middle of a field, something blocked the route. When they stopped to take a better look, they realized that there were 2 bison on the trail. The couple froze in their tracks. The huge animals were just 50 yards away. For a few moments, Chris and Amber marveled at them before deciding that it was safer to give the animals a wide berth and turn back around. They knew that bison could be dangerous and the path was leading them closer to them, so they began walking back the way they had come. But as the couple looked back over their shoulders, One of the bison rolled in the dirt. It kicked up dust and rubbed its back on the ground, twisting from side to side like a playful dog rolling in manure. Then the bison rolled back over and turned its head toward Chris and Amber. Their eyes locked, and it stood up. They could see its huge frame, its impressive horns and strong, powerful body. It took a few steps toward the duo and then ran at them, charging at full speed, its enormous shoulders visible behind its broad head, its sharp curved horns pointing directly at the couple. It covered the ground between them in seconds. Chris and Amber tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. They couldn't outrun an animal that reaches speeds up to 35 miles per hour, and there was no cover in the open grassland. There was hardly any time to think, hardly any time to react before the animal was upon them. It charged straight into Amber, a head-on collision that sent her comparatively tiny body flying through the air. Then the bison continued its attack. Standing over her, it shoved its horns into her chest and shook its head from side to side. Chris could only watch as his girlfriend screamed out in agony, blood covering her body as she lay helpless under the bison's enormous head. He screamed and yelled at the animal, trying desperately to distract it. For the couple from Phoenix, Arizona, it felt like an eternity as the bison gored Amber, its sharp horns delivering potentially fatal blows to her chest and abdomen. In reality, the attack lasted seconds, but in those few seconds, significant damage had been done. The bison backed away and walked back over to where the other bison stood. Chris ran to Amber's side. She was in a terrible state. She was struggling to breathe. Blood oozed from her mouth. She couldn't move her legs, and she was losing consciousness. Chris called the emergency services, begging them to hurry and get his girlfriend out alive. But her injuries were so severe, she may not make it. He held her hand, talking calmly to her. Amber tried to stay calm. The pain was indescribable, and the sensation of panic was beginning to take over as she gasped for air. But she had faith in God. She had faith that He would protect her and keep her alive. Both her lungs were punctured. They were filling with blood. Her abdomen was torn, and her spine was fractured. Not long after the emergency call was made, the couple heard the reassuring sound of the emergency helicopter, the whirring of its blades as it came closer and closer. Amber was airlifted to Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center. She suffered 2 punctured lungs, 7 spinal fractures, and deep bruising from the goring. Her daughter Riley joined her in the hospital, and Chris never left her side. He wasn't going to let the bison entirely ruin his marriage proposal plans. And so when Amber was in stable condition and on the road to recovery, he dropped down to one knee and proposed to her beside her hospital bed. Without hesitation, Amber, sporting a black brace to immobilize her spine, of course, said yes.